Wiper Democratic Movement na chama cha ODM na chama cha New Ford Kenya na pengine chama cha Ford Kenya na vyama vingine, kesho wataweka mkataba sahihi zao kuonyesha kwamba wataweka muungano wa kuokoa Kenya hii.
Just in time.
Wiper and the orange.
Pen to paper.
Uhuru and Ruto sign deal.
Policing the accord.
Annan 6 assurance.
And testing times.
All set for KCPE. All right, it is fresh and it is better, but it remains your authoritative news channel, Kenya's premier independent television station, beginning yet another journey tonight.
Well, it is a journey that will keep a finger firmly on the pulse of the nation as voters across the country prepare for a date with destiny.
Well, beginning tonight, we're rolling out a new face of KTN, bringing together some of the most experienced journalists in the business and a younger crop that is just as vibrant.
This is KTN Prime, the home of the best talent in Kenya. These are the other highlights tonight. Back to work. Court nullifies Kenya Airways retrenchment. And in sports, off the semis, celebrations in Tanzania.
All right, very many thanks for joining us on KTN. We begin tonight with one of the most unexpected political marriages of the season. After spending the last 5 years fighting over anything from red carpets to sitting positions, Prime Minister Raila Odinga and Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka are finally set to form an alliance. The two politicians are scheduled to sign a pre-election pact in which Kalonzo Musyoka is widely expected to be Raila's running mate. Kalonzo, however, says he will still fight it out with Raila over just who gets the ticket.
Kesho, Wiper Democratic Movement na chama cha ODM na chama cha New Ford Kenya na pengine chama cha Ford Kenya na vyama vingine, kesho wataweka mkataba sahihi zao kuonyesha kwamba wataweka muungano wa kuokoa Kenya hii. And this has taken a lot of negotiation. Na hakuna kurudi nyuma. Tumesema na Raila tutaenda kwa debe, tutashindana nani anaweza kuchukua tikiti ili tuokoe Kenya kutokana na ukabila. Ni lazima sasa tujikakamue. Kwa hivyo hiyo kura yako ina maana sana.
Well, and that story brings us to tonight's question, and we are asking you, Sen, do you think a Raila-Kalonzo alliance will form the next government? Do you think a Raila-Kalonzo alliance will form the next government? You know the drill by now. Send your brave comments beginning with a yes or no to our SMS number 8040, and we'll surely sample some of your comments at the end of this live newscast. Well, elsewhere in the city, the Uhuru-Ruto alliance unveiled yesterday was finally signed and deposited with the registrar of political parties. The two ICC suspects maintain that their unity is meant to ensure peace before and after the elections. KTN's Rita Tinina reports from the historic Jivanji Gardens, where the deal was sealed on paper.
With just hours to the deadline for political parties to form coalitions, TNA's Uhuru Kenyatta and URP's William Ruto became the first to make their political marriage legally binding. They chose the historic Jivanji Gardens for the signing ceremony, which came just a day after they announced their coalition at a rally at the Afraha Stadium in Nakuru. TNA Chairman Johnson Sakaja was the first to put pen to paper. Before the URP Chairman Francis Ole Kaparo signed the coalition agreement.
This alliance will stand tall, will stand united, and we will stand together.
Under the deal, Uhuru Kenyatta will run for the presidency with William Ruto as his running mate.
We believe that this campaign should be run on issues. It should be run on the platform of performance, on results, on delivery.
Mikutano ya mahoteli imeisha. Mikutano ambaye sasa imebaki ni sisi viongozi na nyinyi wananchi kule mashinani tukiongea sera.
And even with the signing ceremony, the parties say it is not too late for other like-minded parties to join the team.
Milango yetu bado ni wazi. Kwa wale wote ambao wanataka kusimamia amani ya taifa.
And the Uhuru-Ruto pair, which is facing crimes against humanity charges at the ICC, had a message to the international community.
Please, we do not interfere in your internal affairs. We plead with you. We respect your concern. Yes, we do. Because a friend must always be concerned. But at some stage, you must leave the home to determine its own future.
With the signatures now down on paper, the Uhuru-Ruto Pact is more than just a political union. It is now a legal agreement as well. But with the elections still 3 months away, the new deal may yet have to contend with many uncertainties ahead of the 4th of March 2013. Rita Tinina, KTN Prime.
KTN's Rita Tinina there reporting. Many thanks. Now, after spending the last 5 years fighting over anything from red carpets to sitting positions, Prime Minister Raila Odinga and Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka are finally set to form an alliance. The two politicians are scheduled to sign a pre-election pact in which Kalonzo Musyoka is widely expected to be Raila's running mate. Kalonzo, however, says he will still fight it out with Raila over who gets that ticket. KTN's Ferdinand Omondi now has details of that political drama. Take a look.
After several months of oscillating among potential partners in the race to State House, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka has finally made up his mind.
Wiper Democratic Movement na chama cha ODM na chama cha New Ford Kenya na pengine chama cha Ford Kenya na vyama vingine kesho wataweka mkataba sahihi zao kuonyesha kwamba wataweka muungano wa kuokoa Kenya hii.
The announcement puts to rest speculation over the future of the man who critics accuse of constant indecision and whose party has lately appeared headed in the same direction. Only the previous day, the Vice President denied any knowledge of an impending alliance with ODM. Kalonzo was also once a member of the G7, which included Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. He later pulled out on claims that he was being treated as a junior partner. Now he accuses his former allies of promoting politics of tribalism.
Ikiwa kiongozi wa Kenya ni lazima atoke kabila ambalo liko na watu wengi. Kabila la Burji ambalo liko upande wa Marsabit County. Watapata lini kuwa viongozi wa Kenya hii?
Kalonzo's announcement came even as ODM and Wiper representatives were locked in a day-long meeting at James Orengo's private offices in Lonro House, Nairobi, to thrash out the finer details of the agreement. In attendance were James Orengo, Dalmas Otieno and Musa Sirma for ODM, while Wiper sent Mutula Kilonzo, David Musila and Johnson Mudhama, the latter who has been a huge presence in Raila's functions until yesterday's rally in Tononoka when Wiper was a no-show. Sources say Ford Kenya, whose party leader is Foreign Affairs Minister Moses Wetangula, is also set to enter into a pre-election agreement with Raila and Kalonzo. The party's National Executive Committee held a closed-door meeting today to deliberate on the move.
This country is not just about having a leadership which is like a relay between communities. Community ikimaliza ingine inachukua, ikimaliza nairudishia.
It is widely believed that the biggest landmine in this potential alliance is who between Raila and Kalonzo will run for president.
Wiper.
Kalonzo is also said to be keen for both sides to go solo in the first round before coming together in a possible runoff, while Raila is believed to favor a pre-election agreement where the pair would join forces from the beginning.
Tumesema na Raila tutaenda kwa debe, tutashindana nani anaweza kuchukua tikiti.
The party, which has long been dismissed as the donkey in a horse race, may yet form an alliance with one of the perceived horses, to mean that on deadline day, Kenya may yet witness the birth of a completely new kind of animal. Ferdinand Omondi, KTN, Nairobi.
Well, we're still on that, and the signing of a pre-election pact between Uhuru and Ruto is yet another milestone in their political relationship. That relationship has had its fair share of highs and lows. And as KTN's Emmanuel Talam reports, the two are no strangers to Kenya's ever-changing political landscape.
They can best be described as allies who've had an on and off relations.
Na huyu ni
They first came together in 2002 after former President Daniel Moi endorsed Uhuru Kenyatta as his preferred successor. The opposition to Moi's choice perhaps strengthened relations between Ruto and Uhuru. They became the face of the Uhuru project, even as it became clear the project was doomed to fail.
Makosa tu ni kuchelewa kuoa, lakini tulikuwa kazini.
When Uhuru conceded defeat after a resounding victory by Mwai Kibaki of the National Rainbow Coalition, Ruto stood by him.
Now concede that Mr. Mwai Kibaki will be the third president of the Republic of Kenya.
In defeat, the young faces of KANU had been brought together. The fear of the unknown as the new administration took charge seemed to cement their relations even further. On the opposition benches in Parliament, Uhuru and Ruto led a spirited opposition to the government, trailing their guns on President Kibaki and his kitchen cabinet.
Kenyans are tired of his aloofness, disconnect, and the confusion.
The referendum on a new constitution in 2005 was Uhuru and Ruto's perfect opportunity to showcase their unity. They joined rebels from government to defeat the proposed draft. For them, they had rediscovered their place in Kenya's politics. They were no longer seen as KANU orphans seeking recognition, but they were the opposition voices speaking for the common man.
Lakini katiba hii inampa mamlaka mtu mmoja ambaye anaitwa rais.
But their relations were put to test in the 2007 election. The ethnic patterns of that election saw them part ways. Uhuru made history as the first leader of the official opposition to shelve his presidential ambitions in favor of an incumbent. He led campaigns for PNU's Mwai Kibaki as Ruto campaigned for ODM's Raila Odinga.
KANU recognizes the fact that no one single political entity can carry this country.
By telling my brother Agamo, now you have the mantle, my brother. Now you have the mantle of ODM.
It was the aftermath of that election that redefined the relations of the two. Violence between ODM and PNU supporters has seen them arraigned before the International Criminal Court, where they are facing charges of crimes against humanity.
Your Honor, my rights have been explained to me.
Courtesy of the duly elected President of Kenya, I am a Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance.
Together they hope to form the next government. While they say theirs is an effort to reconcile the country, critics describe theirs as an alliance of convenience, an alliance informed more by fear than ideology. Emmanuel Talam, KTN, Nairobi.
All right, just before that all-important agreement was signed between Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. William Ruto sought the blessings of elders from his community. Let's now bring in KTN Sophia Wanuna to get an update of what's happening in his home turf and what the locals, the residents there, think about this agreement that has now been signed between Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. Sophia.
Shamge, Linda Ogutu and Eric Njoka, I must begin by welcoming you both to the team. A great addition you both are. So we are coming to you live from Eldoret Town, right outside Zion Mall. And yesterday, of course, the country witnessed the official announcement of that major alliance between William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta. And today, as Rita Tinena rightfully put it, they did put pen to paper, officially signing the deal, casting in stone that alliance. But for William Ruto, the last couple of days and weeks, he has had to traverse the Rift Valley region, selling that alliance to this region, a region that is regarded as his stronghold. He has had to convince the people in Rift Valley why. One, he chose not to vie for the presidency, as he had earlier indicated he would. He had gone around saying that he is going for the long haul. He is going to be contesting the presidency, but has now settled for the vice presidency. So he has had to explain that, as well as why he chose to work with Uhuru Kenyatta and not Raila Odinga. So for him, it has not been an easy sell, this alliance. And yesterday, after we left Nakuru town, we came here to Eldoret, and my colleague Aaron Ocheng today went out to the streets and spoke to some of the residents here in Eldoret, and this is what they had to say about this alliance.
This is Eldoret town in Eldoret North constituency that is represented in parliament by William Samoei Ruto. Well, after yesterday's Afraha rally, William Ruto decided to drop his presidential bid and support Uhuru Kenyatta on a joint ticket. Now we came to Eldoret to find out how well that news has been received here. This is what we found out.
Kulingana na hiyo muungano, mimi kama mkaaji wa Eldoret nimekataa kata. Kitu ya kwanza nimekataa hiyo muungano, nimekataa juu tuko na mambo nyingi inahusu vijana wenye wanapiga kura, majority 70% of the youth wenye wanafaa wapige kura ndio wamenyanyasika kwa inchi. Na vile tunaona hiyo muungano vile imekuja kwa interest ya only two people, and the first interest ni ICC.
Kuhusu muungano huu tuliona hapo jana, kwa maoni yangu iko sawa. Ukiangalia kama mtu hawezi elewana na idea za mwingine, si lazima watu wote waungane ili muungano uwe sawa. Wawili wakiketi waelewane, ambapo hata ungeona hata kulikuwa na akina Eko Edhuro, wengine wametoka Mombasa. Kulikuwa na national outlook kwa maoni yangu.
Siasa Kenya huwa inakaliwa na kitu inaitwa euphoria. Sasa hizi sasa tuongaje kitu inaitwa policy. Policy size inakuja namba 25 huko nyuma huko, unaona. So euphoria carries the day, whereby utajaribu hata sasa ujaribu ongea usema ati maybe ati sijui tuwafanyie saizi watu wataki kusikiza hivyo. So in short, hii coalition unaona vile imekuja is very hot, na unaona ndio imeamsha ma temperatures, na hivyo maybe naona ikicarry the day.
Sema hiyo muungano niliona kati ya Kalenjin na Kikuyu wameungana wawili, isipokuwa sikuona sura za Kenya kama kutoka Ukambani, kutoka Nyanza, kutoka Coast. Sema niona mtu mmoja.
Wache waanzie ma IDP waisolve, iishe once and for all. Tujue imeisha kwa ground, tuko sawa, tumekuwa kitu kimoja. Kama bado IDP kuna wawili wameshikana, swali liko hapo. Hiyo muungano kuna taswisi na kuna question mark na kuna mkora hapo kwa hiyo wawili.
All right, I'm now joined by Dr. Lukoye Atwoli, a senior lecturer at the Moi University and also a political analyst who has a vast understanding of political issues in the Rift Valley region. Karibu sana, thank you for joining us. You have had those views of the Rift Valley residents and how they have received this deal, mixed reactions. And of course, as I said earlier, William Ruto has had a harder time explaining and selling this deal to the people. Why is that? What's your comment on that?
The fact is that the Rift Valley is not homogeneous as far as voting is concerned. It is completely heterogeneous. There are many different ethnic groups and different political opinions, and he will have difficulty selling the deal to everyone in the Rift Valley, although there will be a segment that will be with him whatever he says, but to sell it to the entire population of the Rift Valley is going to be very difficult.
Yes. Yeah. In 2007, Ruto had an easier time, being able to bring together the Rift Valley vote for Raila Odinga for that camp. This time around, it's proving to be challenging. What must he do now to ensure, because some fear, some political pundits have said that this deal might erode some of his support here in the Rift Valley region. What does William Ruto need to do now to maintain his stronghold?
Yeah.
But some people have argued that Raila Odinga also got some votes in his own right in the Rift Valley. So that is contestable, I think, outside
Yes.
of the home base.
Right.
However, for William Ruto to sell this alliance successful in the Rift Valley, he needs to sell the party and the policies rather than the ethnic alliances that people are talking about.
All right.
If they sell party and policy, I think it is sellable, especially if there are policies that people in the Rift Valley identify with.
Yes.
Things to do with farming, infrastructure, and so on.
And he'll definitely need to do more of talking, as some people have said
Yeah.
they do not have an understanding of this pact. About 2 months ago, a TNA aspirant won a Eldoret Market Ward, a TNA aspirant beating a URP aspirant. Of course, that caught attention. Is that is it indicative of the change of political landscape here in the Rift Valley, and what happens here on out?
On the contrary, it's not indicative of any change. It actually demonstrates the ethnic reality on the ground, because that ward had the supporters of Uhuru Kenyatta were more than the supporters of William Ruto. So whatever competition there was just a competition on paper. But
Yes.
I think any close observer of the dynamics of the politics in this region would have told you for free
Yes.
that TNA was going to win Market Ward in Uasin Gishu. It's right in the middle of town.
Yes.
It's where the market is. It's where most of the business people are. And so it was a foregone conclusion to any observer that TNA was going to win there.
All right, and finally, before we wind up, Kalonzo today announcing he will be running. They will be running on a joint. Will be joining teams. He hasn't announced that he'll be going as vice president. They will be working together with Raila Odinga, going for this general election, vying in the next general election. In last 2007, as I mentioned, it was easier for him then. What strategy do you see Raila and the people working with him, and the people he will be teaming up with, engaging in the Rift Valley, a very rich area this is? Everybody would want to ensure they have a good strategy to get to garner as many votes as possible. What is he likely to do?
Well, again, I mean, if he sells his alliance with Kalonzo as an alliance between the Luo and the Kambas, for instance,
Right.
then he will fall flat everywhere else in the country except in the Kamba and Luo strongholds. But if he sells it as an alliance of people who are interested in moving forward with the constitutional agenda, moving forward with the, what they have been doing as government, right? Because both of them are senior people in the government.
Right.
Then maybe they might be able to sell it to the rest of the country. In the Rift Valley especially, they need to focus on the things that are dear and close to the people of the Rift Valley. Agriculture, infrastructure, education, health, the things that people hold close and dear to their hearts. Anybody who needs to garner votes in this region will have to deal with that.
All right, Dr. Lukoya Tuoli, thank you very much for talking to us. That's all from us here in Eldoret. Back to you in studio, Linda and Eric.
Thank you, Sophia Wanuna. Sophia Wanuna coming to us live from Eldoret. We're still on alliances. We've not given up. The Grand Old Party, KANU, on its part, says it will tomorrow announce its pre-election plan. The party says it is still consulting with what it calls like-minded parties ahead of tomorrow's headline. Here is what is its Secretary General Shadrach Manga, I beg your pardon for that. I'll go through that again. Here's what its Secretary General Shadrach Manga said a few hours ago.
What is happening today, we are negotiating. We are negotiating, and you know negotiations can take unlimited time. So I want to say that we are, our chairman and our Secretary General are on course. They are there negotiating, and we cannot give you a definite answer now.
Right, as the coalitions are concluded, the man who brokered the 2008 peace accord, Kofi Annan, is back in the country to assess progress on all fronts. Annan, who is accompanied by former Tanzanian President Benjamin Mkapa, says he has no intention of meddling in Kenya's affairs. And as KTN's Catherine Omwanto reports, the former UN chief says real justice for victims of the post-election violence must go beyond the Hague process.
Annan's latest visit is the second in as many months, and he says he wants to be sure that all is well ahead of the first general election since the post-election violence.
And this is not the first time outsiders are getting involved
in any country's elections.
Kofi Annan and Benjamin Mkapa are in the country to observe the pre-election process. Though this visit has come under heavy criticism, the duo are insisting that their visit will in no way meddle in the political environment.
It depends on one's definition of meddling. We've come as friends to help our Kenyan brothers and sisters. We've been engaged since 2008. A lot has happened in this country.
You know, we really are concentrating on the electoral process and therefore spending a lot of time to see the registration process, the security situation and so on. And we are not likely, and we have no anxiety to visit with any prospective candidates for any office.
While here, Annan and Mkapa will monitor the running of key institutions ahead of the general elections and even after the vote. They will focus on the judiciary and the various constitutional commissions, including the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, which replaced the defunct Electoral Commission of Kenya that was partly to blame for the disputed 2007 general elections.
Everyone we have engaged with in evaluating this process has sought our counsel and certainly has encouraged us to go on until the election.
And Chief Justice William Tunga says this time round the judiciary will be in the front line in ensuring the delivery of free, fair and peaceful elections.
The political elite may be fragmented, the transition may be fragile, but it is in such moments that provide an opportunity for great institutions and leadership to emerge and stabilize societies.
Annan's visit comes only a day after ICC suspects William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta sealed a political pact, and the man who delivered the famous envelope to the ICC says the search for justice must not end with the Hague trials.
A special tribunal to do that was discussed, and that idea of holding others to account is not something that one can just dismiss.
Annan and Mkapa will leave the country on Tuesday. Catherine Omwando, KTN.
Well, with that story, like I told you, we're not giving up on alliances. And in studio joining us now live is the Kenya National Congress presidential aspirant and Gatanga Member of Parliament, Peter Kenneth. Thank you very much for joining us on KTN Prime. The first question, many candidates are trying to form alliances to beat the deadline, which is tomorrow. You have not spoken since. Where is your stand, or what is your stand?
I've been working behind the scenes because I think this country requires a force that will deal with the two horses. So we are looking for an eagle force that will fly high. And I've been talking to other candidates. I started off by talking to Ole Kiapi. He wasn't interested. We tried to reach out for another candidate, also was not interested. But as we speak now, I'm in talks with the Honorable Raphael Tuju. I am in talks with the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi. I am in talks with the Honorable Eugene Wamalwa. And I think before the end of the day tonight, we'll have kind of gotten a framework in which we can deal with tomorrow.
Is this the way you clearly thought that this alliance will work for you because you've sought, you know, a pact with Musalia Mudavadi?
No, we are looking at issues. We must, as I said before, this must be a campaign of issues. I'm looking at people we can work with who have the same values and who we can deal with on Kenyan issues. It's about Kenyans, it's not about individuals. It's about all of us. And we are looking at a team that can best address Kenyan issues.
Let's look at the opinion polls. And so far, the opinion polls have not put you in the right, you know, form. Let me just rightly put it. They always rank you as 3%. You're the most liked presidential candidate. But in terms of numbers, you have not reached the numbers.
That tells you that those opinion polls are not very, very honest. There is no way you can have people on your TV shows giving a different opinion poll and a cluster of 1,000 phone calls that the pollsters use permanently and expect different results. They use a cluster of 1,500 numbers permanently. You can't expect other results. But I can tell you this is a race, this is a contest about Kenyans, and I expect on the 4th of March, Kenyans will make a very credible decision.
Do you feel you're the most preferred candidate? Because if we still look at the opinion polls, people like you, but they don't want you to be there.
I don't think the race is about an individual. Yeah. It's about issues. I'll never allow this contest to be about Peter Kenneth. It can only be about things I stand for or what the other candidates stand for. And that's why you must get an alliance of like-minded who will address Kenyan issues. Because if you won't, then it won't work for some of us.
Before I let you go, why Tunawesmik? Why did you form that name?
Tunawesmik, because sometimes we are in a very hopeless state of situation. And I'm trying to tell Kenyans, together we can make it happen. Tunawesmik means we can make it happen. And indeed, on 4th of March, Tunawesmik. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa, for being part of KTN Prime tonight and for coming and giving us your opinions. That was Peter Kenneth, the Member of Parliament for Gatanga and the Kenya National Congress presidential aspirant. Now, on to Linda. Linda, on to you.
All right, Njoka there having an interview with Gatanga Member of Parliament Peter Kenneth on why he thinks Kenyans should cast their votes for him come 4th of March 2013 to make him Kenya's next president. Let's see how that goes. Of course, you're keeping an eye on all the coalitions for you and the political happenings in the country as we head towards that all-important date. Now, Kenya is still a walking nation. This after most matatu owners kept their vehicles off the roads for yet another working day. Public transport in some parts of Nairobi was completely paralyzed. But along the Nakuru-Limuru highway, a new accident became the latest reminder of why the new laws may be long overdue. KTN's Edith Kimani explains.
Just as they ended their week, Monday morning began with much anguish for the thousands of commuters relying on public service transport. Bus terminali were crowded with passengers shoving and pushing for space in the few available buses. Those patient enough waited and those who weren't simply walked. Nairobi was literally turned into a walking city as matatu operators refused to back down. Now, although most public vehicles were operational over the weekend, they downed their tools once again this morning after more than 1,000 motorists were arrested for flouting traffic regulations. The strike that has now spilled over to other towns saw residents of Nyeri stranded in the early morning heavy downpour trying to find transport in and out of the town.
Mimi ni driver. Nataka kuambia serikali sheria ni mzuri, lakini hii fine ipunguzwe kwa sababu imetufinya sana. Kuna wengi wetu wameshikwa kwa sababu ya badge na wanapigwa fine ya 85,000.
Kiambu was not left out either, and here a lot of people had to wait for hours on end for the few and scattered matatus that were available. Matatu operators say the new traffic laws meant to streamline the transport sector are draconian. Embakasi MP Ferdinand Waitito and Makadara Member of Parliament Mike Mbuvi had tried to stop the implementation of the laws through the High Court, but this was turned down with Justice Majanja saying that the law was passed procedurally. Now, as the tug of war on the new laws continues, 5 people died and other 12 seriously injured when a matatu said to be on high speed rammed into an oncoming lorry in Limuru. The Ministry of Transport says the law is supreme and as such, everyone must toe the line. Reporting for KTN in Nairobi, I'm Edith Kimani.
Well, thank you very much, Edith Kimani. Let's now go to an issue that everyone is talking about, and that's registration. That's voter registration ahead of next year's election, and the IEBC is voicing their concerns. As you can see there, the numbers stand at 5.93 million, with his projected target was 7.8 million voters, but the shortfall was 8 million voters. Now, this is the problem. Nairobi registered the biggest number of voters at what you can see there, 760,000, followed by Homa Bay, which was 560,000, then Kiambu, which was at 523,000. Then lastly there, we have Nakuru County, which had 490,000. That's where the problem comes. the least registered voters come from Lamu with 22,000, and then Marsabit at 14,000. They are asking you to go and get registered. Well, I don't know about Linda. Have you registered? Have you gone to the polls and, you know, put your stamp there?
Of course I have, Eric. But then you see, I remember IEBC Chair Isaac Hassan once said that Kenyans are last-minute people. They like waiting for the last minute. So probably the last 2-3 days you'll see very long lines, and then they say, okay, now this needs to be extended so that all of us can cast our votes, all of us can get registered. So let's see how that goes in the coming days.
So go and get registered.
Let's see how that goes. Let's take it to our big question tonight, and we're asking you, do you think a Raila-Kalonzo alliance will form the next government? Of course, this after several coalitions have been formed in the last couple of days. Uhuru Kenyatta, William Ruto have gotten into a coalition agreement. We expect Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka to sign theirs tomorrow. So we're asking if you think that alliance will form the next government. Let us know your thoughts on that. You're watching KTN Prime. Many thanks for staying with us. We're taking a short break, but these are the stories that are coming up.
Welcome back to KTN Prime. Let's go.
Let's take you to a test of a kind, and Standard 8 pupils across the country are all set for the biggest examination in their primary school cycle. Education Minister Mutula Kilonzo says security will be guaranteed for all the candidates writing the exam beginning tomorrow. But in one school in Elgeyo Marakwet, the pupils are dealing with a unique challenge, and it is about their teacher. Here's KTN's North Rift reporter Mercy Kandie with a story of resilience and hope.
It is one of their last visits here before the national examination tomorrow. Twice a week, these candidates of Yatiane Primary School brave the cold in Chepkorio village in the county of Elgeyo Marakwet to get classes they cannot get in school.
7 questions. Work.
This is the home of one of their teachers, too weak to walk to class after dialysis sessions, but amazingly not too weak to teach.
I was never paralyzed by this kidney failure because I can do what the other teachers are doing.
Her illness started in 2002, and even when Madam Jane, as her students call her, thought was at rock bottom in life, her will to see her students succeed kept her going. The results, despite the sickness, started showing.
I was leading in my school with a mean score of 58.63.
Madam Jane teaches social science.
I've even gone to the extent of pursuing my degree course. When you look at my face even now, I was to go for dialysis right now. This face of mine is swollen. But I could not make it because I was lacking one item for dialysis kit. I didn't have enough money to buy what we call acid concentrate.
15 of them are sitting for this year's Kenya's Certificate of Primary Education, confident of performing well in the exams.
No matter... In spite the things that she's sick, she never gives up.
Write your name in capital letters.
The exams start Tuesday morning with adequate security, and Education Minister Mutula Kilonzo says security is assured.
So far, I have had no intelligence reports that anybody is planning to interfere with the exams, but anybody thinking like that is playing with fire.
Mutula warned against those planning to disrupt exams as they would face the full force of the law. The exams will take place under stringent new rules in which offences attract as much as 2 million shillings in fines or a 10-year jail term. The exams run until Thursday. And here at Yatiane Primary School, candidates hope to do their teacher proud.
Once a lesson is complete, the students get out of here with more knowledge in social studies. But that's not the only knowledge they get to get. They get to learn about inspiration to move forward in life regardless of your circumstance. Mercy Kandie reporting for KTN at Yatiani Village, Elgeyo Marakwet County.
Thank you very much, Mercy Kandie, for that story. And to all the candidates, be careful, but all the best. Now, the countrywide strike called by Unregistered National Nurses Association of Kenya recorded mixed fortunes on the first day as nurses boycotted work in some hospitals, while others ignored the strike call altogether. Among the areas where operations were paralyzed was Bungoma County.
The strike in Nairobi had a poor start as nurses blamed the ongoing Matatu strike. The nurses union officials say the strike will be felt tomorrow when all their members countrywide down their tools. The Kenya National Union of Nurses is demanding that the government issue the union a certificate of registration. Several unions, including that of the civil servants, have denounced the industrial action as illegal.
To another story, a police officer is recovering at a Mombasa hospital following an attack on Kiembeni police station in Mombasa by unidentified criminals.
The attackers hurled a petrol bomb into the station and injured the officer who was on duty. The motive of the early morning attack remains unclear.
The injured officer was alone at the police booth at the time of the attack. While the officer is lucky to have escaped alive, the attack raises concern about the security of the public if criminal elements can attack a police post in such a daring manner.
The patient is in a stable condition, is awaiting to undergo a CT scan to ascertain the extent of the injury on the head, and after that we shall declare him out of danger.
The policeman says he single-handedly fought off the attacker as he shouted for help. However, by the time help arrived several minutes later, the attacker had already fled the scene.
An action can be taken against the police. How about we residents? We are not safe. So the government should at least do something. It's a wake-up call to them.
Polisi wa wengine wakilala Mbaraki, wengine wakilala Changamwe, wengine wakilala Bamburi, inakuwa ni ngumu kwa mobilize.
This attack comes barely a day after leaflets warning coast residents not to take part in the ongoing voter registration were circulated by unknown people. KTN did not manage to get a comment from the police over the attack and the leaflets in circulation.
You're watching KTN Prime. Ahead on business news. Back to work, court nullies KQ retrenchment.
Wiper Democratic Movement na chama cha ODM na chama cha New Ford Kenya na pengine chama cha Ford Kenya na vyama vingine kesho wataweka mkataba sahihi zao kuonyesha kwamba wataweka muungano wa kuokoa Kenya hii.
You're watching KTN Prime. Let's look at business news. National carrier Kenya Airways has been thrown into a spin following a decision by the industrial court to reinstate its retrenched employees. The 475 employees have been directed to resume duty first thing Tuesday morning. At the stock market, the airline's shares took a tumble on the turbulent news from the court. Philip Keitany reports.
The airline embarked on a staff layoff in August this year, sending home more than 500 employees in a cost-cutting measure. However, this was met with a lot of anger by the employees who felt victimized by the carrier. According to the airline, its wage bill had ballooned as a result of a previous salary increment for the staff. Further, it said it will save up to 1.2 billion shillings annually as a result of the retrenchment. According to the ruling judge, James Rika said Kenya Airways had failed to consult workers and negotiate severance terms properly. In their quest for justice, the employees had, apart from asking for the reinstatement to work, demanded that their salaries since September, including allowances, be paid to them. In a statement to Newsroom, KQ CEO Titus Naikuni remained non-committal to the court's directive, only mentioning that their lawyers were looking at it. After today's court ruling, it now remains to be seen if Kenya Airways will respect the court order and allow the reinstated workers to report to work tomorrow morning. Philip Keitany reporting for KTN Business Today from the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport.
Let's see how that story plays out in the coming days. Of course, we'll keep an eye on it for you. Let's take you to the coast. Activities at the Kwale-based titanium is set to increase following the acquisition of additional mobile mining equipment. According to Base Titanium General Manager John Schwartz, the two machines valued at $2.3 million is expected to arrive in the country early next year. The project, which is 12 months into construction, has already spent over $200 million, with first exports targeted by end of 2013. When complete, the project is expected to produce 333,000 tons of limonite a year and another 80,000 tons of retail per year. Right, with Nairobi residents already put on notice over the planned digital migration by end of December, not very many are in the know of what to expect. Industry regulator, the Communications Commission of Kenya, has however vowed to keep the timeline set. Michael Karanja with the details.
Remaining committed to its self-set deadline of December 2012, the industry regulator CCK noted that it would drive the process beginning in Nairobi, then the rest of Kenya in phases.
We feel that by switching them off, then these people will automatically have to move to the digital platform. We have given them 30 days. In fact, it's not surprising that we are making this announcement on the 30th of November. Tomorrow is 1st. So by 31st, 31 days, in which we expect Kenyans to set aside a little of their money spared for Christmas to buy a set-top box.
The much-awaited digital migration will see the country switch from analog broadcasting signal to digital terrestrial television from January 2013. Initially, all analog television sets were to be switched off by the end of this year, but the regulator decided to do it in phases, starting with Nairobi and moving the deadline for other regions to April next year. But even after 3 years of drumming the digital migration bid to Kenyans, only a paltry 105,000 out of the total 1 million analog television owners in Nairobi have invested in the set-top boxes. Additionally, most Kenyans feel it's still too costly to acquire the set-top boxes, currently selling at anything between 2,000 shillings and 6,000 shillings, not to mention subscription fees by some providers. Digital signals are currently available in Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru, Kisumu, Eldoret, Nyeri, Webuye and Meru. With the migration date fast approaching, many Nairobi residents have also fallen prey to unscrupulous entrepreneurs, selling them new TV sets with the premise that they are digital compatible. The switch from analog to digital broadcasting is expected to give broadcasters the platform to offer better picture quality, improving the viewing experience for most Kenyans. But with only 105,000 out of a targeted 1 million people in Nairobi having taken up set-top boxes, this gives an indication of the low level of awareness. This then creates a scenario where come 31st December, when the cut-off date is expected to go through, confusion may reign in Nairobi. Michael Karanja, KTN Business Today.
Right, Nairobi remains an anchor hub to Middle East carrier Emirates. According to its Senior Vice President, Commercial Operations for Africa, Jean-Luc Grillet, the passenger loads on the route continues to beat expectations. Speaking when he commissioned the airline's new offices in Nairobi, the Vice President noted that the plans to elevate the Nairobi operations was a testimony to the growth. At a time when most African routes are riddled with the impacts of the global economic downturn, Nairobi, he added, had stood the test of time in terms of passenger numbers. Emirates established operations in Kenya in 1995 and today flies twice daily from Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to Dubai. You're watching KTN Prime. Many thanks for staying with us. Let's now take a look at the financial markets review.